My name is Jessica Gillis. I have been a part of the Bellingham community here for more than 30 years. I started out as a student at Western Washington University in the environmental education department there. Fell in love with this beautiful place and this community and the way that people showed up for one another and made it home. And for about 20 years of these last 30, my husband and I co-owned a restaurant, Ciao Thyme, here in town, where we were all about building community, so bringing folks together around large tables, having them meet their neighbors and taste some really delicious local food. And seasonal menus and that sort of menu writing was really important and a key tenet of our business. And then in the last few years, since COVID, I have been working in the nonprofit sector as the food and farming program manager at Sustainable Connections here in town, where I get to continue those relationships that I built at the restaurant to advocate for farmers and to advocate for people eating more local food in Bellingham. I think community-owned means community-centered, so you get to make decisions at a local level, which is different than a big box store. Big box stores are not owned by local people, and therefore the decisions they make aren't curated for this community. And the Community Food Co-op has the unique position to be able to do that and to have folks inform what our strategic goals and plans look like, and to have a board of people representing the community, making sure that happens. And then you get to see your neighbors and your friends in the aisles here, and you're supporting local food because you see it on the shelves, you're supporting organics and the values that you carry in your everyday. So I think that's why it's important to be community owned. So I joined the board just a year and a half ago. I filled an interim position on the board. I was asked by a friend of mine who knew I was into food systems about being on the board. And what really drew me to that idea was that the grocery sector is not a piece that I've explored. I've been in the restaurant world. I've worked in a lot of spaces in the food system in Bellingham, but didn't know enough about grocery, and I was really curious. And the co-op was a space that, when my kids were little, I loved coming to this space because I didn't have to say no very much to them in the aisles, and that made me feel good about shopping here. And knowing that I see people I know every time I come here, and I thought I want to know a little bit more about the back end of the grocery store business and how that works and how it can support local food systems and farmers. Yeah, I think one of my biggest hopes and goals about being on the board at the co-op, besides meeting new folks and learning about a new sector of the business, was to have a little influence on how many more local products we see on our shelves and the ways that we might be able to call that out so community members know that what they're shopping for. I think that people want to shop with their values, and that means being able to pick the things off the shelves that align with those values. And so I've loved working with Lydia at the co-op, who's doing the marketing, and our new CEO manager, Lisa, who are totally on board for that vision. And it's been really fun to be able to lend my years of expertise to that and to be able to point them in the right directions of farmers or ways that we can collaborate with partners and community members. And so I hope to just do a bit more of that in this next term on the co-op board. I found that, my role at Sustainable Connections is also really valuable in the way that I've been able to interact with the co-op board and also with folks who are working at the co-op. I have lots of partnerships in this town, and because of the work at Sustainable Connections, that I can be a connector of people. So I've loved seeing some of the pop-ups this year of the farmers market here, and not to say that I made those connections, but just to say that we are a food system working together in this town, and there are several of us that are all working toward a similar goal of values-based purchasing and local food and supporting our local economy. And to be able to be in those spaces and help is huge. And one of the ways that came together this year was through the flooding. Lisa reached out to me at Sustainable Connections, and I was able to reach out to the Community Foundation, and we all got to work together quickly to try and come up with a plan for ways that we could bring money together to help farmers in need. And I was able to do outreach through my job there to reach out to farmers and see who was hurting and who needed that help, and then be able to work on the farm fund through my role on the board here to be able to help get money out to people who really needed it. So one of my favorite ways to treat myself at the co-op is that I am a 3 o'clock, I need a piece of chocolate kind of person, and I love Cool Chocolate, which is a local company here in town, and Paul and Ari are personal friends, owners of the chocolate company. So I like to sneak in here for their mint chocolate bar when nobody's looking.